What is up, guys? Welcome to episode 15 of the Fielder's Choice podcast. I am Dan
15.
Field. All the way to the left, we got our special guest, Steve Buckley, coming in hot right away. Next to him, we got Matt Giblin joining from, where again?
Lake Winnipesaukee.
Lake Winnipesaukee. And of course, we got Mrs. Angie Santamaro. I can no longer say she's in the middle. She's right next to me.
Oh, just where you like me, Dan.
Right. Yeah. Just where we were all day yesterday.
All day yesterday.
Yeah, we'll talk about that
We
in
will.
a second. But a bit of sad news to start the show. I know we don't like sad news here, but I thought twice about doing this podcast tonight, but unfortunately my stepmom passed away a couple days ago. I know she was a big fan of the show, so I just wanted to,
Big hugs, Dan.
big hugs.
Love you, buddy.
Her name
Yeah,
is
she was a
Lynn.
big fan of the show.
She was.
She was a good lady, buddy.
She was, and she went through the ringer. She was battling cancer for a while, and unfortunately, things just went downhill for her. And she passed away on the anniversary of her and my dad, which is it's wild. But I know that she would want us to do the show. She was a big fan, so we're gonna push forward. And on
We
some
can dedicate
brighter,
this show to her.
we can.
Absolutely.
On a brighter note, today is my mom's birthday.
Happy
So
birthday.
a lot of crazy things.
I got to
going on.
meet her yesterday. That was
did?
nice. Never met
Yep.
your mom. Your sister, your mom, your nieces,
Yep.
and
yeah.
your brother.
Yep. The whole fam was there.
The whole fam was there.
The whole fam was there. We'll talk
So
about
of course Dan got the dish.
that. Yeah, I appreciate that. Although, if I knew the game was gonna be 4 hours, I probably would have.
But
yeah.
I didn't get my underoos yet, so it would have been bad. So
Yeah.
we don't.
Yeah. Underoos.
We don't need to do that yet.
Did you order those?
I did. I got the men's underwear from Lululemon because I feel like those would probably be the best way to go.
So, Steve, you probably didn't watch our last episode, but the topic of conversation was what each of us wear under our umpire pants.
Good to know.
Yeah.
It's a problem in this heat.
Especially for women.
Well, for some of us. Yeah.
Yes. We don't have
And
to
a,
go.
and a problem is a lot of us aren't just doing one game. We're doing maybe two or three. So
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
mentioned off the air that I used to umpire like in high school and college.
I
and
didn't know that.
Graduated from UMass and never went back to it. But when I did softball games for the city of Cambridge, it was a nice plum thing to have because I worked at the gas and light company during the day and the printing department. And then at night, I got cozy with Henry Sullivan, who was in charge of the umpires of Parks and Rec. And he would always assign me to one of the parks with lights where there were always double headers. And it meant you got two paychecks. You do plate and bases. So if they assigned me to
Yep.
Hoyt Field, which had lights, or Donley Field, which had lights, and and so forth, you could do a 6 o'clock game and an 8 o'clock game. You do the plate, then the bases, and you walk out with double the money. Ka-ching. So
Yep.
So what
Still
levels
do.
were you umpiring?
I'm sorry.
What levels were you umpiring?
I umpired. I began doing Little League because my brother was one of the coaches, and they needed umpires, and it paid like $12 a game, whatever it was. And then the local Babe Ruth guy came up to me and said, "Do you want to do Babe Ruth?" So I think beginning when I was in college, I was doing the Babe Ruth League, which was you go from the 90-foot diamond to the smaller Little League diamond.
Yeah.
And then Henry put me on softball, and I did that for, I guess, I did some form of umpiring from my senior year in high school through the year I graduated, which was 78. And then I got my first newspaper job, and I never umpired again. So
But the big question is, did you ever eject anyone? Because we have an ejection counter here
Yeah.
at Fielder's
Yeah.
Choice Podcast.
Yeah.
Never.
I don't think I did because I was so young, and the coaches were all older than me, and I don't think so. If I did, I don't remember it.
Okay.
So
It's still at 4, by the way.
So then we're still at
No.
4.
Yeah.
Steve, did
Yep.
you ever play ball?
now I was a lousy baseball player. I actually played more baseball. One of the problems, I always roll this out. I got myself a really, really, really good after-school job at the gas and light company. The money was great, and I went right from school to this is my excuse for not getting cut from the baseball team. But what happened was when I got out of college, I joined all kinds of weekend leagues. There was a thing at Harvard. We got a permit to use their field. We used to play 2 7-inning games every Sunday. Then I joined the over 30 league. But it all goes back to I was a better baseball player in my 30s than I was as a teenager, because I was in better shape and I worked at it and so forth. But I did play. We used to play what we called sponge ball in the Longfellow School courtyard, and you'd buy those hard sponge balls and you'd paint a strike zone in the brick wall in the courtyard. And me, Dennis Coakley, Peter Florin, Joey Fitzmaurice, Kevin Graham, Paul Monagle, Danny Duffy, Stephen McMahon. I mean, the same cast of characters, and we'd play these sponge ball games for hours. And then they put lights in the courtyard, and we'd play night games. But I did that from, I don't know, like 6th grade right through college. And some of those guys I still see, and you can't play sponge ball now because they have a 2-level playground in that courtyard now, so it would be impossible to play. And we get together once in a while, and we have tremendous, great times, great stories from those days.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
When you said
It's the best. We talk about growing up and playing all the time, and it's just the best times of your life. It really is so fun.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead, Dan.
No. You said you played 30 plus. Was that MSBL?
I don't. Someone else asked me that. Greater Boston Men's Senior Baseball League. I played for the North Shore Reds.
We'll
have to look those up.
It might have been the BMBL. Yeah, we used to be affiliated with.
We played at the park in Beverly with the bandstand out in the center field, and I was a catcher, first baseman. I pitched a little.
Angie and I
also pitched, and I should point out something I'm actually pretty proud of. Each year the Red Sox and Yankees baseball writers play a media game. We used to play 2 a year, one at Fenway, one at Yankee Stadium. So I played a lot of baseball at Fenway and at the old Yankee Stadium. And in the entire history of that game, which I helped start back in the 80s, I'm the only one ever to give up a home run in a media game. And the New York writers came to Fenway one year, did not have enough players. So because I used to cover the Yankees, I played for the New York writers. And there was a guy from New Hampshire, I forget his name. But he's a really good baseball player. And I'm not just saying that to take some of the blame off me, but I threw a pitch right over, and he hit it into the old screen above the left field wall. So I can honestly sit here and say I gave up a home run at Fenway, a real one, not like the ground ball inside the first base bag that goes all the way down.
Right.
I gave up an out of the yard home run at Fenway. So.
Wow. By the way, is this the media room that you sit in?
That's it. In fact, you are. You were literally sitting right exactly at the seat I sat at for 23 years.
No way.
When I was at the Herald. Now that I'm at the Athletic, we have 2 seats down in the front row, way down the end, and that's where Jen McCaffrey from the Athletic sits.
Okay.
And we have 2 seats there. Usually one of the seats is open, and I'll sit next to Jen. But if one of our other baseball, I'm a columnist. I'm not technically a baseball writer anymore. So if one of our other baseball writers is there, I just go sit in the 3rd row.
You know, that was during the Bananas game.
Yeah,
we got in as media, and there was no 3 other people up there. So
crazy.
We got 2. Did you write about the Bananas at all when they were here?
I didn't.
No.
I know they were here. I was off doing something, same thing either last year or the year before. I did see them play. They played in Fort Myers at JetBlue Park during spring training. So we went to the morning workout, interviewed outscorer, talked to whoever we needed to talk to. Then all the writers, we were in the press box writing our stuff while the game was going on. So, and it so happened that they were staying at my hotel, and I'm an early riser because the clubhouse opens at 8. So I was down about 7:15 in the lobby to get my coffee and go to the ballpark. And all the Bananas players and the other team, they're all, and it really brought back a lot of memories because I covered minor league baseball for 3 years, the Maine Guides internationally up in Maine when I worked for the Portland Press Herald, and I traveled with the team. And we took buses. We also flew, but when we flew, we took like 7 a.m. flights, so we'd have to be in the lobby at 4:30 in various stages of consciousness. And as all those guys were coming down, staggering, just like, some of them just plain tired. Some of them may have had a touch of the grape the night before, as happens. But just to look at their eyes and all just kind of slouched over in the jeans and the t-shirts or the gym shorts, whatever. And I say I lived that for 3 years, so it brought back some pleasant and not pleasant memories.
But have any of them played 100 innings of baseball? Because you don't know tired until you've played 100 innings.
Yeah. Yeah.
And tried to drive home the next day.
You guys umpire that?
We did last year, yeah, but we
Yeah.
also play.
For a segment. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
We took a
gotta
shift.
come to that one of these years just
Yeah.
to get it at bat.
You should.
Just to,
Have you
I
seen the
can't-
movie?
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The one
And,
Yeah, the
I
100th inning
can't-
movie. Yeah.
I can't. I used to pitch in the over, and then pickup games and stuff. I can't pitch anymore because I'm 69 and my
Bill
shoulder,
Lee's still doing it.
Well, Bill Lee may have had the rotator cuff surgery that I was told I needed 15 years ago, but didn't
Yeah.
get. So,
Me and you both.
and God, but, yeah, and Bill Lee did pitch in the big league, so cut me some slack. So.
Well, you can come over to the third base side. I manage the third base side, so you want to come, you just walk right to the third base
Is this
side. I
Labor
will
Day
put you in the
weekend? Is this
lineup.
when you have it?
It's
Columbus.
Indigenous Peoples Day weekend. Oh,
What is
Columbus
it?
Day weekend.
Indi-
Columbus Day weekend.
indigenous. Indigenous.
Thank you. Indigenous Peoples weekend, yeah.
Yes.
Oh.
So
Oh.
I could be covering a Red Sox playoff game.
We hope you are.
We hope so.
So
We do hope so. I mean,
Steve,
Yes.
have you always been a sports columnist? Was your first job as a sports columnist?
no, I
After
UMass. I went to UMass. I wrote for the UMass Daily Collegian. I was a columnist there. The sports editor gave me my own column, and I knew that's what I wanted to do. My first job out of college was at the Westfield Evening News. I was sports editor. I was there for a year. Then I went to the Journal Tribune in Biddeford, Maine. And I was there for a year and a half. Then I got hired by the Portland Press Herald, which is the biggest paper in the state. It's got used to have the big building downtown. And after I'd been there a while, I wrote one column a week. But I was mainly a baseball writer. I covered the Maine Guides. I covered the UMaine Black Bears. I did some Red Sox home games. 87, I got hired by the Tacoma News Tribune to cover travel with the Seattle Mariners. I was there for 1 year. Then I went to the Hartford Courant, again as a baseball writer. And the Courant was so big in those days, they covered New York teams and Boston teams, home and away. So I lived in New York, actually Greenwich, Connecticut for a year, and covered the Yankees in 88, then the Red Sox in 89. And then I got hired by the National Sports Daily at the end of 89, and they made me a columnist. And they went out of business in 2 years. It lost $119 million. And then I went into magazine writing for a couple of years, and then the Herald hired me in 95 as a columnist, and I did that until the Athletic hired me, and I'm still a columnist.
Mm-hmm.
And a damn good one.
I just gave you like 47 years of sports writing, which is kind of frightening when I think about it.
Right.
because that's how old most of us are. Well, I'm 46.
But you don't look a day over 30.
Well, thank you.
Not at
Are you
all.
talking him or me?
You.
No,
Thanks.
you're not. I think you're talking about
Danny
him.
definitely does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Danny, we got to work
Yeah.
on that. It's because
Yeah.
your diet is cheese doodles and Swedish fish.
Hey, don't knock it till you try it.
Orange sherbet.
Yeah. So we did, really wanted to have you on to talk about the old time baseball game. So we did want to kind of start to talk about that just a little bit and what inspired you to kind of start that.
Well, the game was. This will be our 31st game. It's August 20th at St. Peter's
10
Field.
days.
The players all wear the throwback uniforms, and we've got Brock Holt playing this year. And
Heard
it's a
about that. That's
benefit
great.
for the Boston Home, which works with MS patients, and they do wonderful work. This will be the third year we've partnered with them. But what happened was it was kind of an accident. I was working at WEEI in 1994. And I did the Red Sox pregame show. That was mainly what I did. But I also filled in for the other hosts, and obviously they would take a lot of vacation time. And Dale Arnold did the midday show in those days, and I was going to do his show for an entire week, which was 10 to 2 or 10 to 3, whatever it was back then.
10 to 2.
And baseball went on strike. So there was no baseball. And I went on the radio that day, and I did one of those familiar talk radio rants, like this isn't, you start screaming and you get people to call, and I went off on this 5 minute soliloquy about how, you know what, screw Major League Baseball, get your friends, go to a local park, have your own game. Just get a bunch of people. When I was a kid, we used to get people and go down a park and on the field and play baseball. Get a bunch of guys and play baseball. In fact, we should get people call in. Maybe we'll have a game next week. And within 5 minutes, Paul Ryder, the late Paul Ryder from Cambridge Parks and Rec, called and said, hey, I heard you on the radio. If you guys want to have a game, we can make St. Peter's Field available. And we went back and forth. This is all happening live on the air. And I said, well, maybe we can get a bunch of people and we can raise some money and you guys can use it to buy basketball nets and equipment. And then he said, well, we actually had a recent tragedy. There was a Cambridge postal worker named Eddie Fitzmaurice. And by coincidence, Eddie's younger brother was one of the kids I used to play stickball with, spongeball. And he was in a car accident and he was killed, and they were trying to raise money for his 2 young children. So as soon as he said that, people began calling and saying, if you have a game, I'll donate $50 if I can play first base and so forth. So the producer, we went to break, and he said, all these people calling in. So I called Paul Ryder back and I said, hey, if we had a game like the night after tomorrow, and I invited people to call in, could you get the field for us? And he said, yes. I came back on the air and I said, tomorrow I'm doing the show from 10 to 2. You need to call in, tell us why you deserve to play in this game, how much you're willing to pay for this fund. We're raising money for these 2 kids. The next day, for 4 hours nonstop, the phone lines were going crazy. People came by the station because they couldn't get in. They came by the station and asked to play. So we, wow. And the board op, the guy who's behind the glass on the board, the board operator, we call him the board op, he was furiously writing down all the names. And the board op was a 23-year-old BU graduate named Sean Grandy, who went on to become the radio voice of the Celtics, which he's been doing for many, many years. And he's like one of the top basketball play-by-play guys in the country now. But he was the kid writing all the names down. So then the next night, everybody showed up. We had volunteer umpires, and we played the game. It was a terrible day. It rained all day. The field was a mess. And we played the game and raised like $5,000 for a scholarship fund or whatever for the 2 kids. That's the end of it. End of story. Life goes on. Then a guy named Bill Noveline, who I had done a charity event with the year before, writes me a letter, because we used to write letters in those days. And he sends me a note at the station saying, I want to help you organize next year's game. So I wrote him back saying, well, no, it's just a one-shot deal. He sends back a check for $5,000. He says, whatever charity you do, I will sponsor one of the teams. So we agreed to have a game the next year, only this time the new program director says, I can't let you use 4 or 5 hours of airtime. So I said, fine. So we got some coaches and we picked up some players here and there. And we had that second game. And then Bill said, let's have a third game. And we did. Then in 1998, that's when everything went crazy, because a guy named Rick Stoddard from Technical Personnel Services, we did the game that year as a fundraiser for the Heather Foundation, which raises money for burn victims. And that was the pet charity of Rick Stoddard, because someone in his family, his daughter Heather, had some serious burns, and he wanted us to raise money for burn victims. And that's what the Heather Foundation was. And then he said to me, like, what is your goal with this game? Do you want to take it to Fenway someday? I said, no, I want to keep it right here. I like it at this little ballpark because there's a lot of energy. And I said, one of these years, I want to put some money away and have a fundraising effort and see if we can buy a collection of like vintage throwback facsimile uniforms from throughout history and make it a real old-time game. He calls me back the next year and he says, how much would they cost? And I said, well, I don't know. He says, well, get a price for me. I called Mitchell and Ness in Philadelphia, talked to a guy named Peter Capolino, who was the owner of the company, and got a price for like 45 uniforms of different this, different that. And I called up Rick Stoddard and said, it's $11,500. And he said, I'll pay for them.
Wow.
And I said, Rick, I got to be honest with you. I don't know if we'll even raise that amount of money from the game this year. So you might be donating $11,000 and get back $10,000 for the Heather. He said, no, the Heather Foundation is something separate. This is my money. We went out, I basically had to buy whatever the guy had in stock. And hence the old time baseball game throwback uniforms one. If you go to oldtimebaseball.com and go to the little hamburger thing there and go to about our game and go to home uniforms and road uniforms, we have some really fun stuff. The history of each uniform, what it represents, you know, in real life, and who's worn it in our game over the years. Everyone who's ever worn the uniform for each uniform going back to 1998. Not all uniforms are used every year. And we've probably added 20 since then. And so we have like 68 uniforms now. We have another one. And Peter Capolino, the guy I bought the uniforms from, has since donated. He sold the company years ago. And I'm still in touch with him. I've never met him. He's 83 now. He just called me a month ago and donated. He had a throwback 1951 New York Yankees number 5 Joe DiMaggio uniform. We already have a Mickey Mantle one, but he said, if you want, I'll give this to you. And I said, yeah. So we actually have a new uniform we're going to use for the first time. It's a pinstripe number 5, 51 Yankees. So we're pretty excited about that.
Wow.
Wow. Well, we had Aiden Freeberg on a couple episodes ago. Yeah. And he let us know that those unis are very hot.
Yeah. He
very thick. He was great.
Yeah, they're very hot. We had one game one year. It was like 100 degrees out, and they're very unforgiving. And it's funny when you said that Aiden said they're very hot. I thought he was making a fashion statement. Oh, he's hot. and then I thought,
very sexy.
That's the biggest. We don't get any complaints. But we do get observation from players that they're hot.
Yeah.
And Aiden, I don't know if he told you, for whatever reason, the Red Sox they were cleaning out some stuff like 8 or 9 years ago, and they gave us like 6, 7, 8 Red Sox uniforms, pants, shirts, the whole bit.
Wow.
And they gave us with the thick wool, they gave us a number 8 Yastrzemski. And I don't know why, but Aiden wears the number 8 uniform every year.
Yeah, I think he told us that, yeah.
That's like his uniform.
I
mean, last year we made a mistake at the last second, and he was given the number 9 Ted Williams, which he was very honored to wear, but he came up to the guy who does the uniform. He said, you mind giving me back my Yaz next year? So it is kind of cool that we do have players who become kind of proprietary.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, writer. They become proprietary about their uniform, and they like to wear the same uniform every year.
I mean,
and we'll get guys that wear a certain uniform, and they'll go up to Ben. Again, he's in charge of all that. He said, "Hey, thanks for letting me play." A guy named Dan Finley and his guys, their coaches, they pick all the players. But we'll have players that will wear a certain uniform and then go up to Ben. I say, if I play next year, would you mind if I wore that uniform? And we had a kid from UMass Lowell that wore one of our Havana Cubans uniforms because his father was from Cuba. Alex Lee, who's one of our coaches, wears one of our Havana uniforms because his father is from Cuba. Brian Carey, who's one of our coaches, wears our 1948 Cleveland Indians Bob Feller uniform in honor of his father, who is a lifelong Cleveland Indians fan. So there's a lot of that stuff. And Greg Montalbano wore the very first year we had the throwback uniforms. He was a kid that pitched at Northeastern. He wore the 1926 St. Louis Cardinals road uniform, a pinstripe uniform. Greg was a great kid, was drafted by the Red Sox, was the minor league pitcher of the year one year. He developed cancer. He died in 2010. Wonderful guy. And we instituted the Greg Montalbano Award, which we give each year to a former player in the game that we invite back. And it's somebody who's been a great help to the game, who did more than just show up. They brought a lot of spirit. So we give it in memory of Greg Montalbano, someone who embodies Greg's spirit, competitiveness, and good nature is how we phrase it. And the player we invite back to play in the game wears Greg's uniform. So Greg's uniform is only worn by the Montalbano recipient. And since he already knows, I will tell you, we are giving the Montalbano Award this year to Jared Carabas.
Oh, wow.
He's been involved in the game for a number of years, and he's been a tremendous asset for us. And he's the reason we have Brock Holt playing this year. And so it wasn't even my idea. I hate Jared. No, I Carrabis. He's one of my favorite people on the planet. And Ben Weiss, who's in charge of uniforms, he said, Carrabis is there every year, and he does everything we need. He does interviews. He pubs the game on all his platforms, and lo, he has many. And,
Dan, write that down so we can get him on the live stream.
Yeah, feel free to have Jared promote our podcast.
Yeah, we're gonna get you.
And so we're gonna honor him before the game this year.
That's awesome.
How can you not be romantic about baseball?
Yeah, I got to meet Jared last year at the Bananas game at Fenway. Yeah, he was there with the Section 10 guys.
The funny thing is, he if you don't know him, obviously he's on social media, and sometimes he comes across as snarky on Twitter. He's got the guns and the hats and everything.
That's a Massachusetts thing.
Yeah, and then no, exactly.
Boston boy.
Yeah, exactly. And then you meet him; he's just the nicest guy in the world. So
they're the kinds you just gotta roll over on their bellies. Just rub their bellies a little. They're fine. Then they're babies. They just melt in your hands. Oh come on,
he's
Johnny
nice
McGee.
Guy.
Please.
Brad, a fellow umpire of ours, says you need throwback umpire uniforms too.
We have never. Yeah, we've had. We've had most of the same umpires. Roger Morrison from the Greater Lowell Umpires Association, he volunteered to do our second game in 1995. The first year it was just local guys, and then Dave Tresca, who's an umpire. He's the umpire in chief. He assigns the umpires. Dave's done the game every year for the last 15 years.
Yep.
Roger's done every year but 1 year. And he's in his 80s now. He umpires third base, and he's a great asset to have. And
I think Carl's doing it this year. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Steve. I think Carl Rodriguez is doing it this year.
Carl's done 5 or 6 games.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
Stuff in front of me, I could look it up. But he's done a bunch of games.
Yep.
And again, I don't have the names in front of me. So Dave is getting 5 of the umpires. We are also, we usually have 6, but one of the umpires in the original game in 1994 is, and again, I'm from Cambridge, there's a guy named Ray Darling from West Cambridge. He was one of the umpires in the original game in 1994. I think he was just doing like Little League and Babe Ruth. And I was Ray's Babe Ruth coach because a couple years after I was doing Babe Ruth, I switched over to doing just softball for the umpiring. So I decided to coach a team. So like a year or two, I coached Babe Ruth, and Ray was one of my players. And I was only like 20, so he's only like 5 years younger than me. And so we're inviting Ray back, an umpire from the original game in 1994, is going to be one of our umpires this year. We're very big on tradition. We love that stuff.
That's baseball. I mean,
yeah.
I think baseball players are the most superstitious men I know in the world. So it completely makes sense.
So maybe we can get on a waiting list to umpire.
We'll rotate around.
I was actually the pitcher and again, I gave up a home run at Fenway, so I'm no good. But I'm gonna see if I can find the video. Someone sent me a video of me striking somebody out in the first. And I like to tell people it was like Wade Boggs, but it wasn't.
Is Orazio managing the team again?
Orazio has been one of our. So Orazio's a good story. Orazio was in our second game. So you guys all know Orazio Azzarello, the Medford High baseball coach.
Yeah.
I've known Orazio since he was like 2. He grew up across the street from my sister in Medford. He was best friends with my nephew. So I literally, as I saw Matthew, my nephew, grow up, I saw Orazio grow up. And Orazio played in the second game, I think, in 95. And then in 97, we had Mike Pagliarulo play, former Medford guy, New York Yankees third baseman. Mm-hmm. And Orazio pitched to Pags and gave up a home run. And the next year, same matchup, Orazio struck out Pags, which, So then Orazio came back. Orazio was one of our Montalbano recipients. He was a big asset to the game.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. That's great.
And then he wouldn't leave, So we made him a coach. He's one of the guys on the short list of we couldn't have a game without him. That's how important he is to us.
Well,
Yeah, it's funny because Razio, he hadn't pitched in years, and we were short on guys like a couple of years ago. We were playing in Winthrop, which is a very short porch, and he had to come in to pitch, and he hadn't pitched in years. And I think it was the first or second pitch of the at-bat, whoever it was, and he gave up a home run into the trees, and we all loved it. It was fantastic. Sorry, Raz.
amazing.
So I watched video because you guys used to live stream a lot of those games, and in fact, me and Matt offered to do the live stream if you have nobody live streaming that game. But I was watching video back when Pedro played in that, and there was people lined.
That's easily the biggest crowd we've ever had.
Yeah,
I was there for that.
It was crazy.
I mean, trying to get in, the police were just having to detour and get everybody around. But I was on a Vespa, so it was fine. I just meet.
It's actually a pretty impressive list of all the guys that have played
I'm
it
gonna.
over the years.
I don't know if you can.
Oh, I can blow you up. Hold on. Where are you?
Here we go.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, hold it right there. Right there. Perfect.
Where are you? Oh,
So that's the original old time baseball game. I think it replays here. That's me. Here
Yeah.
we go.
is this on YouTube?
No, it's on my phone.
That's on his
No, I know.
phone, his
Oh,
videos.
you
So
just
his
saved
videos.
just saved on your
Yeah.
phone. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
That's awesome.
That's good
Oh.
quality.
Yeah.
that's
So I
cool.
never knew that existed until like 10 years later. It was actually that was the first game, and as you can see, it was like a 96-mile-an-hour cut fastball. It was,
Of course, it was beautiful. It was a
It
thing.
was my little dinky curveball. And if you see how I pitch, you can understand why I gave up a home run at Fenway, because I was a crappy pitcher. But so I was one of the pitchers in the original game in '94. That video was taken by the Fitzmaurice family, Mrs. Fitzmaurice, who since passed away. With the big camcorder, and then I ran into her other son, like 10 years later, and she said, my mother has that entire game on videotape. And I said, oh,
Videotape.
I'd love to see it. And I called her up because I figured, well, she'd have video of my awesome strikeout. And then she said, no, the battery wore out. I only got like 10 minutes, and then the battery went out. And I said, oh, okay, well, it's too bad. See you. And then I said, wait a minute, I pitched the top of the first inning. So if she has 10
That's
minutes.
my 10 minutes.
And so sure enough, I met up with her son. She had a copy made, VHS, and I put it in the machine, and there I am. And then it goes on, a few more batters. And that was actually the end. And then they try to get the bottom of the first, and then it just dies out. So
But you got that gem.
Oh.
You didn't have to blow in the machine for it to work, right?
No, it was I don't know. It's so weird that I can pick this up and play that, whereas before it involved the big clunky
Going to
thing
the
and
TV,
put the VHS tape in, and of course anyone who has VHS tape from those days, if they haven't digitized it, it's probably all gone by now, because I used to work at ESPN for a couple of years, and I have a bunch of my old stuff downstairs, which I'm afraid to go look for because I'm sure it's all weathered and messed up by now. So
I mean, that's a good point. I mean, you've seen kind of even these last 30 years how much everything has evolved, technology, and I mean, even your game. Like it's like you said, you don't have to go find a VHS. Now you can just pull up an iPhone and pull up highlights of last year's game.
yeah.
Not to
Well,
mention the amount of people who have played it. It's just remarkable.
Yeah, and again, if you not just the celebrities in the form of big leaguers, but a whole bunch of guys who played in the game when they were amateurs who went on to play in the big leagues, like Carlos Pena played in it twice before he got drafted. Mike King, is he with the Padres now?
Padres, yep.
I
I think he pitched today, right?
Did he? When he was at Boston College, he came to our game. And there's another cool uniform story going back to Bill Noveline, who passed away a few years ago. But Bill was a big BC guy, and they had a Pete Frates. And now Pete, actually the last time Pete ever played in a game was at our game. The year he was diagnosed, he was the starting first baseman for one pitch, and then he came out of the game. The Red Sox donated a number 3 uniform for him to wear, which he kept, and he wore that throwback shirt at lots of events. So thus began a relationship we had with Pete Frates and his family. Several years later, the Red Sox and BC had a spring training game, as they often do, down in Fort Myers. And in this particular game, every player on both teams wore a number 3 shirt. All the Red Sox players wore number 3 Red Sox shirts. All the BC players wore number 3 BC shirts. And they were all auctioned off for charity. And the player who wore the uniform, his name was on the inside. Well, Mike King was a pretty good BC pitcher, and Bill Noveline was a BC grad. He put in the high bid for the Mike King uniform, donated it to our game, and asked that it's the only polyester uniform, it's the only non-wool uniform we use in the game, and it's a BC Road uniform with the dark crimson colored top and the gray pants, I think. And Bill asked that every year we invite a BC player to wear it, and I said that'd be awesome. So who did we get that first year but Mike King? He was still at BC. I called up Mike Gambino, who was the coach, and he said, we're going to use this uniform every year we play the game, but what better way to inaugurate it than to have Mike King? So Mike King came. Unfortunately, that's the good news. Bad news is he kind of came with a note from his teacher, that being Mike Gambino, don't pitch, because he had just, they had a long BC season, then he was in the Cape League, and so he had reached his innings, and he's a D1 pitcher who's going to get drafted. So I have to find him one of these days and ask him, or dig out the scorecard. He did play in the game. It was we either gave him an at bat or he was a pinch runner, but he did wear the uniform and he hung around all night. And and one of these days I have to go find him and ask him about that. I'm also waiting for, and I hope it's not for another 12 years, that when his very solid major league career does end, I would like to get him back after he retires to wear that uniform again. And I look forward to that.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah. Full circle.
That'd be so cool.
So
yeah.
So you see what I'm saying about the uniforms, how they have all these little stories and stuff?
Yeah.
And all that's organic. I mean, we didn't make that up. It just, Bill got the uniform, Mike King wore it. Every year a BC guys wear it. It's either a current player or a former player, but somebody with a BC connection. They actually, a guy named Nolan Sherma wore it 2 or 3 years ago. Nolan is technically not on the BC baseball team, but he is their student manager, and he warms up. He was a pretty good high school catcher, and he's a student manager. He warms up pitchers in the bullpen, and he's a member of the team. And we invited him to play. He had a home run in the game. He was MVP of the game. So,
I mean, just going back to what you said about the uniforms, I would absolutely read that book. Like, I would read a book about if these uniforms could talk. I mean, I think that the stories are amazing, and that obviously they're all so old and have so much history tied to them. And this game is awesome. And I think, I've seen it, I think maybe for the last 4 or 5 years I've gone, and I saw it before that, but but the uniforms and their own stories and people who've worn them and the superstitions, and I think that would be so amazing.
In fact, Angie
has
a Rockport Peaches
I do.
uniform if anyone wants to.
Rockford, yeah.
Oh, Rockford. Rockford.
I don't have an original, but I do have the Hall of Fame induction sweatshirt of a player. Actually, she was in the shot at the end of A League of Their Own. She is the one who hits the line drive. Her name was Rita Mayer. They called her Slats. And I hooked up with her daughter during COVID. We were on just like a Facebook site. And long story, if you saw 100 Innings, that was my story. I grew up in foster care, saw that movie, fell in love, whatever. So during COVID, everybody was connecting with everybody. And I connected with her daughter, who owned a B&B in Cooperstown, who was just like, oh my goodness, come see me. And now is just like my big sister I never had. And so she's given me a ton of Rita's old stuff. But the year that they got recognized, not inducted, they gave all the women sweatshirts. And I have her sweatshirt, and it's probably my most prized possession.
I should, that's a very cool story. I should point out that back in 2002, I think it was, Jim Corsi, the former Red Sox pitcher, the late Jim Corsi, who I did radio and TV with for several years, and we were good friends. Jim was the first former Red Sox player to be in our game, and he pitched 2 years in the game and wore our throwback uniforms. I forget which one he wore. And years later, when Jim passed away, which is going back 3-4 years, come to find out he had a son, Joey, who was playing baseball at, I think, Bellingham High. And so I reached out to Jim's mother, who I knew, and I said, I think it'd be great if your grandson could play in the game. And I got in touch with him, or one of our coaches did, and said, play in the game, we'll wear one of these uniforms. And he said, do you think it would be all right if I wore one of my father's uniforms? And Danny got in touch with me and said, Joey wants to wear his dad's uniform. And I said, oh my God. So Joey has a game-used uniform from his father, a home one and a road one. So what we did was we had him wear the home uniform, and we had him bat in the first inning. The pitcher for the road team was a kid from BC. We had him wear the BC, the Jim Corsi road uniform. So we had Jim Corsi road uniform pitching to Jim Corsi home uniform worn by Joey Corsi. And this pitcher, and again, I'm bad with the names. I don't have direct involvement with the players, the coaches that do that, but he's a really nice guy. I'll look it up. But I explained to him, what this is all about. And then I went to Joey and I said, Joey, this kid is a pretty good BC pitcher and he throws like 91 miles an hour. Now, you're a sophomore in high school. Do you want to see Division I college pitching, or do you want him to kind of take it easy? and I knew what he would say. And he said, I want to see the Division I pitching. And I think he fouled a couple off. He struck out, but he hung in there. And this will be the third time. I think he's not playing baseball anymore. I think he's out of high school. But I've told him, as long as you want for the rest of your life, if you want to play in this game, you got to bring that uniform. So and if you go to our uniform section, it's listed and it says on loan from Corsi family. And Joey brings the 2 uniforms every year, and one of Jim's game used uniforms from the home team and the road team are in our game every year. So
that's so cool. That is something like, these are the coolest stories. I could listen to these all night, and I'm frozen in a weird position. Oh, there we go.
I take back what I said before, because I've been attaching myself. When I said that the Mike King BC uniform was the only non-wool one, the 2 Jim Corsi uniforms obviously are non-wool. So those are the 3.
Terrio, happy birthday, buddy.
Happy birthday, Terrio.
Yeah. So did you ever think, now it's what, 30, this is going to be the 31st year? Last year was the 30th year. Did you ever think it would be still running this strong?
No. I didn't think we'd have the first one because it rained all day. I didn't think we'd have the second one because it wasn't meant to be an annual event. Then you go back about 12 or 13 years ago, we came very close to stopping it because we didn't have enough people to run it. There were some people that kind of stepped in and stepped out. And then we got an infusion of new people to augment the people who've been around since the beginning. And so we keep having it. And it's I take no bows for it because
you should.
Basically what I do is call Dave Tresca to make sure he has the umpires. Call the coach, Dan Finley, and Orazio and Alex Lee and the other coaches and Mike Powers, make sure you get all the players. Call Ben, make sure the uniforms are all set. Call Andrew Noveline, who handles Bill's son, who does the books. We used to do a different charity every year. When Aiden got diagnosed with MS, he wanted to do an MS charity. And I said, go find one. I want it to be smallish and local, not the national thing that's in Columbus or whatever. And he's the one that introduced us to the Boston home.
Yep.
And they've been so good and so proactive, and they raise money on their own, and they bring volunteers, and they pub the game, and they're excited about it. So this will be the 3rd year we've been with the Boston home. So we have tremendous cooperation from the city of Cambridge, going back to Paul Ryder, Paul was the original guy who called in to donate St. Peter's Field. Paul died just over a year ago. We had his wife throw out one of the first pitches last year. And we're on good footing now because we have a charity that we're going to kind of stay with for a year because they understand what our game is all about and they're tremendously helpful. We've got some Dan Finley's taken over the coaching and the rosters, Ben with the uniforms, Tresca with the umpires. So, and I'm probably leaving some people out. Orazio, and we've got some really, really good people.
Brett was the
Jesse
official
Haley.
scorer.
Oh my God, how can I forget Jesse Haley? Jesse does the game program on the website. That's like really hard work. So we're very fortunate to have all these people involved, and really, and I kind of stay out of the way. I don't speak. I'm not on the field. I'm like a frustrated Broadway producer, and this is my big musical. I think I said one year, this is High School Musical, for baseball. So
that is so accurate.
No, but seriously, Gib and I,
I'm up there, places, everybody,
if you need someone to live stream, because I know you guys used to stream it.
I
There was
need someone to live stream. Now there was a guy with Lexington Cable. And again, I'm bad with names.
Sam? Was it Sam Freely? No. He does all the Lexington Blue Sox games. I wasn't sure if that was
Jim Akmachuk. He's a genius. He did the game. He did a live stream, but he treated it like the Super Bowl. He had like 5 cameras.
Yeah.
He had switchers.
Yeah.
And he did the whole thing. And he did it for like 4 or 5 years, but he was in his 20s, but people move on. We've had people come in and out of the game. Then, life catches up with you, and all of a sudden there's a mortgage, there's kids, there's health issues, and there's a whole bunch of people who passed on. Bill Noveline, and Paul Ryder, and Dave Leibovitz, who used to handle the uniforms, and he used to dry clean them and store them for us because he ran a cleaning business. And those are the people that I'd like to say they're irreplaceable. It's just that somehow we've replaced them, but we've not replaced Jim Akmachuk. And if you want to, you have my number. And it's probably too late for this year, but I would love to live stream the game.
It's not too late.
Nope. We're planning on being there anyways.
Look at this beautiful production right now.
I mean,
if
three blind mics, who doesn't want us?
So I don't know if you had somebody in mind to do the game, but Alex Barth, who does 98.5, he's done the game play-by-play. I could get him to do it with you guys.
Sure. Because you finally moved it to Wednesday, so Thursdays, Razio's team, which I play for, they usually have a game, so I was never able to make it because he needed to go manage that, one of the teams over there, so I would manage the Senators. But you guys thankfully moved it to Wednesday.
Well, we didn't move it to Wednesday. What happens is, and we're having it a little late this year. I prefer to have it a little early because we've had, I think, 3 players who had to drop off because they got to go to school. And we had a kid named Jack Zimmerman, all Globe Scholastic, all Herald Scholastic at St. Mary's of Lynn. And he was going to go to Salve Regina. And then at the last second, he gets an offer to go to Dayton, which is D1, and they gave him some financial aid. They gave him a package. He's got to leave on the 18th. So because the game was on the 20th, we're going to lose a bunch of guys who we are replacing with guys on our waiting list. And but the reason, oftentimes we have the game in concert with the availability of the player we have, the celebrity. So Brock Holt, for instance, is doing the Red Sox Jimmy Fund WEEI Nesson Radio Telethon on the 18th and 19th. He's from Tennessee. He's the honorary chairman of the Jimmy Fund. So Carabas was the one who got Brock Holt. Brock Holt actually reached out to Carabas and said, I saw Papelbon pitching, and what's this? I want to be in that.
Well, I know he played with the Bananas.
I was out walking my dogs one night, and Carabas said, Brock Holt wants to play next year. I said, great. He can only do that night because he's in town. It's an off night for the Red Sox. They're going to New York. So that's why we're doing the game. We did it last year, 2 years ago, on a night when Fred Lynn was going to be at the Legends Suite at Fenway the next night. So we were able to get him because he flew in a day early. We had 3 years ago, the first year we had the whole Joey Corsi, Jim Corsi thing. Jim's best friend was Dennis Eckersley because they pitched together in '89 World Series.
That's Gibbs' man.
Amazing.
And Eck was going to be at the game, but he could only do that night. and he was going to be there and throw out the first pitch and talk about Jim Corsi. Unfortunately, the game, we got rain all day. We could not play the game. We had, not only that, we had to move it not from that day, but to 2 days later because the field was so wet. We still got a huge crowd, but unfortunately, I understood going in that Eck was flying out the next morning to California. We were unable to get him, which was unfortunate. But we are the game is the date of the game is usually chosen by the availability. We always try to have it when the Sox aren't playing because people at the game.
Well,
are
speaking
watching
of
on
it,
TV.
any chance of it ever being at Fenway?
No, that's the most commonly asked question that we
Yeah.
get. We love St. Peter's Field, and we think it would
It's
be
historic, yeah.
It's if you've been there, and we get anywhere from 500 to 3,000. The year Pedro pitched, it was crazy.
Well, yeah.
It was
And-
wild, yeah.
But the fans are all up against. There's no seating. It's like the two little wooden grandstands. Did you ever watch Field of Dreams?
Oh
Not
yeah.
Field of Dreams.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Field of
We-
Dreams. We
we
got that
lost
little
Gib.
grandstand.
Yep, but yeah.
And they do the wave and
Yeah.
the,
Right behind the mound,
yeah,
right behind the plate. Yeah.
the seating at St. Peter Field is like 3 of those.
Yeah.
But we tell people bring a beach chair, it's festival seating like in the old Cape Cod League. People line up along the foul lines, and to see it once it fills up, which is just people up and down the foul lines, and
Yep.
then sometimes they're on the outside fence, and then a lot of times they're just in that parking lot. They're not really watching the game; they're looking at the game, but they're kibitzing and walking around. I have since found out that there's all kinds of little reunions that take place. I know that there's a bunch of women that come to the game every year because one of them, their son played in it X number of years ago. So they come every year. There's a kid whose name I forget from Belmont who played in the game, but on his birthday when he was like 8, his dad took this kid and his like 10 friends to our game on that kid's birthday. It was like a Chuck E. Cheese experience. And that kid was like 8 or 9 years old. And then when he got to be 15, he reached out and said, hey, I went to this game when I was 8, And there was another kid, Danny Nugent from East Cambridge, who wrote us a letter. I've been going to this game every year since I was 7. Can I play in it? I'm a senior in high school. So we invited him to play. So there's a lot of like stuff like that. I know that John Casey, the retired baseball coach at Tufts, he would come to the game every year with a bunch of his former players who had played in the game. They would watch the game down in right field and then go to the 99 for dinner. So there's a lot of that. We had 2 years, we had a couple of years where Keith Folk came to the game, the former Red Sox reliever who was
Crazy.
living in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
He didn't even tell us.
He just showed up.
No, he was just showed up and was standing down in right field. And someone said, Keith Folk is here. I said, what? So I walked down to right field. I said, Keith, Steve Buckley. He said, oh, yeah, And I said, what are you doing here? He said, oh, I heard about it. I just thought I'd come by and watch. And I said, we have to throw out a first pitch, and play. He said, no, I'm good. And the exact same thing happened to Dave Silt, one of the 4 New England guys, Lake Placid, the gold medal game against the Soviets. Or they beat the Soviets and then won the Miracle on Ice. One of the 4 New England guys from the Miracle on Ice in 1980 at Lake Placid, Michael Ruziani, Dave Silt, Jack O'Callahan, and Jim Craig. And Dave Silk, someone said, Dave Silk is here? I said, no. And I went up to Dave, Steve Buckley, he said, oh, yeah, And same thing. Why don't you tell? I just wanted. And then he said, my daughter sang the national anthem tonight because we had some choral group, and one of the young women singing the national anthem was his daughter, and it turns out. And I got talking to Dave. Oh, my dog is going crazy. And one of Dave Silk's grandfather, and I forget it's a different name. Dave Silk's grandfather played on the World Series champion 1915 Red Sox. And I think if you go to Wikipedia, it's in there, but I've written about it, but I forget his name. So.
Wow.
And Joe Morgan, the former Red Sox manager, in '98 was our guest manager, and we got him a Boston Braves uniform to wear, because that was the original team he signed with. And we still use that uniform in our game, but maybe 7, 8 years ago, someone says, Joe Morgan's here? So we've also had, and I can't give you his name because I wouldn't want to cause a stir, but we have had a very famous actor who twice has been to our game, and I did not know about it until about a year ago. I don't think he comes anymore, but someone said, "Did you know that so and so was at your game?"
He's come to a few more than just a couple.
We have to talk.
Yeah.
Wait, who are we talking about?
I can't tell you that because Steve already made that clear, but
no, I missed it. I missed it.
Yeah, no. We need to keep it about baseball, not about other things.
We have lots to talk about.
Yeah. So I know that we're kind of going on to an hour. We said we'd keep it an hour for you, but can we ask you? Do you have time for maybe a couple questions? I know we're so bad. We're umpires, but can we ask you like maybe 2 questions about the Hall of Fame before you run out?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So for me, and this is a question that I told you that I need to know, who did not vote for Ichiro? Who?
And for the record, for those who don't know, Steve is a vote.
Hall of Fame voter.
Hall of Fame voter. Yeah.
I wish you didn't qualify it by announcing that we talked about it off the air, because I was all planned to say, "How dare you ask that?"
Sorry.
So to fill in your viewers, there was one voter who did not vote for Ichiro.
Boo.
I was not that voter. I voted for Ichiro, enthusiastically, I might add. I am what we call a big hall voter. I usually vote for, I can vote for up to 10. I usually vote for 10, or at least 8 or 7, but never fewer than that. If someone is borderline, I vote for them because I don't want to be the one vote that keeps him out of the Hall of Fame. And but I did vote for Ichiro enthusiastically. As far as who did not vote for him, I do not know. And as I explained off the air, even if I did, I wouldn't tell you. Not because, and I can't be more sincere about this, not because I'm protecting the anonymity of the person who did not vote for Ichiro, but because if I was the person who outed that voter, I would become a part of that story for all coming time. In other words, everybody would say, according to Steve Buckley of The Athletic, Joe Blow from the Sioux Falls Chronicle didn't vote for Ichiro, and then every retelling of that story for the rest of time, it all began with Steve Buckley. So even if I did know, and I don't think anybody does except for Jack O'Connell, who's the Secretary Treasurer, and Price Waterhouse or Ernst & Young, I forget who it is, who calculates the votes. The votes are sealed and put in file in the Hall of Fame after that. In fact, there was one, you have to get 5% to stay on the ballot, but the voting was different like 50 years ago. And I found a player just randomly, I forget who it was, who got 1 vote for 4 consecutive years, and he was not a great player. This was back in the 30s and 40s. And I was fascinated why that voter voted for that player for 4 consecutive years, and he was clearly not a Hall of Famer. And there must have been some tremendous act of respect. Something happened there, and I asked the Hall of Fame and they said we don't reveal even something like that, even though the player and the voter are both dead. They have an agreement with the baseball players. They won't ever. And of course, I knew that, but I took a shot anyway. And
there's got to be a story there.
Yeah, and not to keep this on forever, but some of the votes that we make are worthy of criticism, the Ichiro vote being one of them. I should point out that sometimes you'll see a random player get 1 or 2 votes, and there'll be some screaming, like, how could they vote for this guy and not vote for Ichiro unanimously? Well, the answer is they're not the same person. Unanimously for Ichiro isn't the person, presumably, who voted for this player who probably isn't a Hall of Famer, but he's on the ballot because he passed the screening committee. What I would tell your listeners and viewers, that sometimes there's a reason that guy gets 1 vote, and I would give you one of those reasons, because there was a lot of criticism. Aaron Boone got a Hall of Fame vote or 2 when he was on the ballot. Aaron Boone was not a Hall of Famer. No. You got to vote for the Hall of Fame. It turns out that the voter, he's still alive, Hal McCoy from the Dayton Daily News, had to retire, or was about to retire, because he had failing eyesight. He's covered the Reds for 1,000 years from the Dayton Daily News. He could no longer drive, and he was in his 70s. He couldn't drive to the ballpark anymore, and he was telling players that he'd be retiring. And Aaron Boone was still playing for the Reds, or had some connection to the Reds at that time. And Aaron Boone said to him, "No, you're not going to retire. What you're going to do is you're going to write a story. You're going to say that you want to continue going to the games, and you're looking for somebody to volunteer to drive you to the ballpark every night. It's like an hour's drive from Dayton, and then wait for you to write your story and then drive you home." He wrote the story, and a retired airline pilot stepped forward, and it prolonged Hal's career. He doesn't go to the games now. He covers games. He's 87. He still writes like an online column. But Hal was so moved by that when the time came, like it or lump it, Hal McCoy of the Dayton Daily News gave one of his Hall of Fame votes to Aaron Boone. And I challenge anyone participating in this podcast to argue that was not right. So.
No, you actually just might have made me like a Yankee a little bit more.
So I'm just telling you that there are some cases, and again, we're 5 after 9 now, but when Rod Beck was on the Hall. Now Rod Beck died a horrible death. He had a drug overdose. He died alone in an apartment or something. He was married. He had kids. I don't know what it was, but when Rod Beck pitched for the Red Sox at the end of his career, I found him just to be one of the nicest people. You know, he looked a little menacing with the Fu Manchu thing, cap over there, his relief pitcher. I found him to be such a nice person, and then when he died, and I read the story about his kids, his wife, dying alone. I don't know if he died of an overdose or something related to his.
I think it was related, is what I remember, but
the fact is he died alone without his family, and that struck a nerve in me. And the next year, his name appeared on the Hall of Fame ballot because he'd been out of baseball for 5 years, and it was going to be the only time he was on the ballot. And I did one of the coolest things I've ever done, and then made one of the biggest mistakes I've ever made. I voted for Jim Corsi. I gave him a Hall of Fame vote. I mailed my ballot in, and then over the next 3 or 4 days, I said, "This is stupid. This is not how we should be voting for the Hall of Fame. People are going to be complaining about it, and why could someone vote for Rod Beck?" And I got in touch with Jack O'Connell, and I said, "Jack, I don't know if this is allowed, but would it be okay if you tore up my ballot and sent me a duplicate and I revoted?" And he said, "Yes." And so he destroyed my ballot. I sent in a new ballot. I did not vote for Rod Beck. I think somebody did vote for him. I think he got 1 or 2 votes, perhaps for the same reasons. And then several years later, the whole Hal McCoy thing with Aaron Boone came out. And then I said, of course that was the right thing to do. That was the right thing to do for Hal McCoy. And if anybody had a problem with it, screw you. That's what I should have done. I did it, and then I bailed, and I regret it, to this day. And keeping in mind, if I had 10 people I thought should be in the Hall of Fame, I wouldn't have voted for Rod Beck. It was in a year when I was voting for 6 or 7. I had the bandwidth, if you will, to vote for him, and I did, and then I didn't, and I regret that.
So you said you don't want to be the reason why someone gets in, like if it's a close, but how do you know what the votes are at the time?
I don't. And well, sometimes you do know. Like for instance, the last year Jim Rice was on the ballot. He'd been on the ballot for 14 years. This was his last time on the ballot.
Oh, I see.
Clearly, you knew if you knew it was going to be close. So if I voted for Jim Rice the whole time he was on the ballot, so that wasn't never an issue. But someone, he might have missed by 1 vote, and if someone if someone is borderline, why not? Doesn't hurt. And there are so many inconsistencies. If you you've probably heard this story a million times, but Louis Tiant's not in the Hall of Fame. If anybody's watching and listening, if you have a half hour, go to Baseball Reference, study Louis Tiant's lifetime numbers, and then study Catfish Hunter's lifetime numbers, and then study Don Drysdale's lifetime numbers, keeping in mind that that both Drysdale and Catfish Hunter won some World Series. Tiant did not. But if you look at the body of work for their careers, they're strikingly similar, and yet he's not in the Hall of Fame. Dwight Evans has a WAR of 60s, high 60s, or low 70s. There are dozens of players, not dozens, but a whole bunch with a lower WAR of his who are in the Hall of Fame. This is a guy who had 300 and some odd, 380 home runs, 360, whatever it was, and won 8 or 9 Gold Gloves. There is no better right fielder I've seen in my life than Dwight Evans. And people always talk about the catch in the game 6 of the 75 World Series. In a weird way, that does him a disservice, because while it was a great catch and it kept the game going, and they might have lost the World, the catch itself, while a great World Series catch, was not one of those, oh my God, how did he make that catch? That's impossible. It was a great catch given the moment. It was not a great catch compared to the
he didn't climb up the wall. Yeah.
And however, nobody in the history of baseball, for my money, that I ever saw, could make the sliding catch in shallow center field the way Dwight Evans did. He did it every week for 15 years. Low sinking line drive. He runs in, slides like he's sliding in the second, and puts the glove down, catches it in the web. And he did it all the time.
Dewey.
Fenway right field is one of the toughest right fielders to play, because it goes from 302 out to 380, and you got that sidewall. I've seen lots of outfielders run trying to catch that twisting pop fly that's going down, and they run smack into that sidewall because that's not how ballparks are built. What's his name? He ended up playing for the Red Sox. Willie Mopena. When he was playing for, I think when he was playing for the Royals or something, he almost killed himself when he was an opposing player running. I'll never forget, it was at that game. That sidewall is tricky. Dwight Evans owned it. And to supply that measure of defense in that ballpark where right field is so difficult, and oh, by the way, I'm going to hit 350 home runs, he should be in the Hall of Fame. So.
Yeah, I just have memories of him hitting it into the screen.
I think he's back on one of the Veterans Modern Day Committee ballots this year, and I really hope he gets in.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
That would be cool.
So do you find yourself, and this can be the last question, do you find yourself like being the homer when it comes to like being, I mean, obviously you know the Red Sox players more than probably most, but.
Yeah, you kind of ask the question and answer it. I'm not a homer in that I'm going to vote for my guys.
Yeah.
No. The answer is no. But you also answer the question. The difference is,
you wrote about him.
I saw Dwight Evans play for 20 years.
Right.
I saw Louis Tiant play for 20 years.
Right.
I was at game 1. I was a 19-year-old college sophomore. I was behind the plate because my uncle was an usher at Fenway. And,
we've all had those friends.
I saw Louis Tiant beat the Reds in game 1 of the 1975 World Series. And yeah, I mean, I got to know Louis pretty well over the years. He was always at spring training, and we all miss him. And he was off the ballot before I even voted, so I'm not part of that discussion. But I do feel and have written that he should be in the Hall of Fame. Now, if you turn it backwards, I've voted for a lot of guys either I just flat out didn't like, they didn't like me, or had kind of a snippy relationship with. And I wish Curt Schilling nothing but the best. I wish him good health. I know he's had a cancer scare in recent years. But for lots of reasons, Curt and I are not on the same page, and we've had some squabbles. I voted for Curt every year he's on the ballot, even after when they had the January 6th stuff at the Capitol, and and he tweeted out that day, well, watch awesome happen, or something like that. I thought it was a terrible thing that happened that day, and Curt Schilling championed it. And I think that there were people who didn't vote for, who may have voted for him before, who didn't vote for him. He ended up coming within 10 or 15 votes. I know that the last year he was on his ballot, he got few votes than the year before, which was after January 6th, which sets up the BBWAA for, you took politics into account and so forth. I say take that up with those voters, because I wasn't one of them. I voted for Schilling, and then Schilling was going to go on the Veterans Committee thing a year or two later, and he said, "I'm happy. I'm glad because
Yeah, he
these
didn't.
guys really know baseball in this committee,
Yeah.
unlike these stupid baseball writers." I don't think he put it quite that way, but the fact is that you need 75% of the 400 or so BBWA voters to get in the Hall of Fame. You also need 75% of the 16 members of the Veterans Committee for any given year, which is 12 people. He didn't get 75% of 16. He got lower than the percentage that the writers had given him a year earlier. So, and he's not in the Hall of Fame. And he had 3,000 strikeouts. I think 3,000 strikeouts is automatic for the Hall of Fame, ever the more so when you consider his brilliant postseason numbers. And he used to have the highest strikeout to walk ratio of any pitcher with 3,000 strikeouts. I think maybe Kershaw or Sabathia might have a better one now because they've come along with 3,000 strikeouts since then. But at the time, of all the X number of pitchers with 3,000 strikeouts, he had the best strikeout to walk ratio.
Interesting. Yeah, didn't he say he doesn't even want to be in the Hall of Fame now because?
Well, I think he, I mean,
yeah, I don't want to date you either. You don't want to date me, fine. I don't want to date you.
Yeah, exactly.
If I had played one game in the major leagues, I'd want to be in the Hall of Fame. It's the ultimate respect that you can give a player. And I know Louis Tiant. I remember for years and years, Louis Tiant, Tony Oliva from the Twins were very good friends. Their wives were good friends. They're both from Cuba. The Twins and the Red Sox both train in Fort Myers. As the restaurant's gone now, is the Stonewood. It was an old steak place in Fort Myers that was a favorite of mine that I'd go to. I'd be down there for 3 weeks. I'd go there like 3 times, and I'd always see Tony and Louie and their wives in the same booth every night at the Stonewood. And it must have been really tough. I'm sure that Tony eventually got in the last couple of years, and I have no doubt in my mind or my heart that Louie was so happy to see his best friend from the homeland get enshrined in Cooperstown. But at the same time, it must have been tough for him. And he died. And I know his son has said, well, he doesn't care if he gets in now. I understand the sentiment and the emotion, but I would caution people in that situation, just let it go and see what history tells us, see what happens down the road.
Right.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I know I said I had one last question. So, what do you think of the Pete Rose now being?
I was just going to ask that question, but I figured that would be a long one. Yes, but
I don't think Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame. I think that's become a minority viewpoint with fans. People would like to say, well, he only bet on the Reds, and that doesn't make any difference. Let me try to explain this as simply as possible. If you bet on the Reds on Monday night, well, what's wrong with that? He's going to do everything he can to win. Theoretically, in Sunday's game, he might have held back a relief pitcher or two, knowing he needs them fresh to win Monday's game, which means that Sunday's game is not on the level. Furthermore, if he's got money going on the Reds and he needs to win this game because he's got money on it, might he use a pitcher longer than he should have, which does a disservice to the pitcher. Now, some people have come up with some charts and diagrams to prove that that's the case on a few occasions. I don't have that in front of me. All I know is that it's not as simple as he only bet on the Reds to win.
Well, because you also change the odds. Because if you've had like a losing streak, now the odds are you're not going to win, so you get a higher percentage payout for whenever you bet on it.
I know nothing about gambling, so I can't speak.
But that's Pete Rose,
so like if they're like on a losing streak, and then he bets on the game, right? Like if he's like doing stuff to make them lose just so that he can have better odds when he does bet. Like also he's a piece of shit human, but
that's
we can get into that
but
some
that's
other time.
Pete Rose as a manager. I mean, you can't deny his numbers. Looking at his numbers alone, would it be a different story for you?
But I don't.
But you can't.
But hypothetically, if
sorry, you're asking Steve, not me.
I'll play along. He's got the most hits of any player in the entire history of baseball. You can add in nuance that he was gritty and tough and exciting, Charlie Hustle and all that. Even if you remove all that, he has the most hits of anybody in the history of baseball. which should be tantamount to automatic first ballot induction to the Hall of Fame. So if you want me to answer the question the way you posed it, yes. Unfortunately, if you expand the picture a little bit, we have the manager of the Cincinnati Reds batting line. Then you can say, oh, well, what do they have to do with this player? There is an unspoken agreement between the fans in Major League Baseball that every game is on the level. Not for betting purposes, just for if you buy a ticket to a game and sit there and buy your program and hot dog and so forth. I'm sort of painting a Norman Rockwell painting here for you. But if you do all that, there is an expectation that everybody involved is going to do their best to win, not because of gambling or odds or, you know, mama needs new shoes, whatever they say, but solely because they owe it to the sanctity of the game, as corny as that sounds.
Yeah.
If you lose that, then the games are not on the level. And that bothers me. And that's why, you know, God rest Pete Rose. My condolences to the family. I never had anything. I can tell you, and I've written this many times, part of the excitement of going to the World Series as a kid in 1975, 19-year-old college sophomore, was I got to see Pete Rose play twice, games 1 and game 2. I didn't go to 6 and 7. And to be able to say I saw Pete Rose. That same year, on opening day, I cut classes and went to Fenway, and I still have the ticket stub somewhere here. If you go to Twitter and type in Steve Buckley, Henry Aaron, I've put it on Twitter like 20 times. It was Henry Aaron had broken the home run record in '74. At the end of the season, he wanted to close out his career in Milwaukee, where it began with the Milwaukee Braves, and we now with the Milwaukee Brewers, who back then were in the American League. So he played 75 and 76 with the Brewers. Well, as it happened, they opened the 75 season at Fenway against the Red Sox. I was there, and it was one of the big thrills of my life to see. My 75 season as a fan began with opening day seeing Henry Aaron for the first time, and it ended with going to games 1 and 2 of the World Series and seeing Pete Rose. So just to get my bona fides on the table as someone who respected Pete Rose, the player.
Well, he has the best quote of all time. I think he's got the best baseball quote when he said, "I'd wear a gasoline suit through hell to play baseball." And that's the only thing good I can say about him is that quote. Well, that is, yes, I understand that in my bones. But I don't think you get to disrespect baseball and then ask for respect on the other end. And maybe I'm one of those people who just takes baseball way too seriously, but like, I don't think I can take it seriously enough. I don't think you get to disrespect the game and then ask for respect from it.
And not to repeat myself, when I was a kid growing up in the '60s, there was no cable TV, and the only chance you ever had to watch the National League, if you were from Boston, was either during the postseason, the World Series, and then later the LCS, or the game of the week. Every Saturday afternoon, Tony Kubek and Kurt Gowdy doing the game of the week. I never missed the game of the week, and I'd be so pissed if it was an American League game that way. Today it's the Yankees against the Tigers. No, I can see those guys all. But when it was the Pirates, I got to watch Clemente and Willie Stargell. When it was the Cubs, Billy Williams and Ernie Banks. When it was the Reds, Pete Rose and Johnny Bench and Joe Morgan and those guys, and you know, and right on down the road. I just loved watching National League Baseball. When the Cubs were playing, Leo DeRocher, for crying out, was managing the run out, yells at the umpire and gets thrown out. And I'm just happen to be reading Nice Guys Finished Last right now. It's where is it? There it is.
Nice.
It's Leo DeRocher's autobiography. Which I read like 50 years ago, and the guy who ghostwrote it was an old friend of mine named Ed Lynn, who I got to know later on in Ed's life. But I saw this like $1 a book bin about a month ago, and I bought it just to reread it. But it was a big thrill to watch those guys on TV, Pop Stargell, Clemente, and Pete Rose, and Swim Seaver, and all those guys, Koufax for the Dodgers, and the only ones I ever saw from that vintage were Pete Rose because of the World Series and Henry Aaron because of that trade to the Brewers. So there's no disrespect for Pete Rose's baseball career here. And I feel a little sad. I mean, Jason Stark, who covered a lot of Pete Rose, he's with The Athletic. If you find the piece he wrote about Pete Rose after he died last September, was it? Or December, last year. If you find the piece that Jason Stark wrote, it was tremendously poignant. It was very sad. And that he did this thing where he went to the plaque room in Cooperstown and he figured out where exactly Pete Rose's plaque would have been, because he retired in such and such a year. You sit out 5 years. Then he would have gone in this year, and those are the guys' plaques who went in that year. And okay, that's where Pete Rose's plaque would have been that year. And he went and looked at it, and based on that observation, wrote a piece, which is very sad.
Interesting. Yeah, and now you hear about players betting on sports, like betting on themselves. A couple of news stories came out recently with pitchers, betting on the first pitch of the game, and that's crazy.
I don't gamble. I'm not. I don't. There's obviously a tremendous allure there that people are attracted to, and my fear was that people would get caught up in it and bet more they can afford. It never occurred to me with the amount of money the players are making now.
Exactly.
That players would get caught up in that. The major league minimum.
That's a story in itself.
$500,000, I think. And so even if, like, Roman Anthony, because this new deal doesn't kick in until next year, is making the major league minimum, which I think is 500, it might be 700,000. But
it's something like that.
That if you agree, and I'm not going to talk about the two Guardians pitchers because I'll presume innocence, for the time being. But if player, Fred Smith agrees to do something in a game, even if it's in connection with an exotic wager, that isn't really going to affect the game, such as maybe throwing a few that aren't strikes. And let's just say he's a rookie to further solidify my argument. If he's a rookie making $500,000, is the payoff he's going to get more than that? Where's the point? Is it going to be more than the millions he might give up if he gets caught?
Yeah, that's the ultimate question.
Is the gamble worth squeeze?
Which makes me wonder if there's something else at play. I mean, is it possible that
there's
we might
zero prefrontal cortex? Sorry.
Or I'm being more innocent here. Is it possible we might see a case down the road where a player is threatened? Like, we're going to say,
isn't that a lot of the 1918 Black Sox story?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not a big student of that because it's funny. I'm not a student of that. I was on a show once where I said, well, I don't think Shoeless Joe because he took the money. And then a bunch of people called, you don't know what you're talking about. He got the highest batting average in the World Series. And, there are people who are passionate about it. I lack the passion to carry the torch for Shoeless Joe. I have I want Tony Conigliaro's number retired, number 25. I've been saying that for years. I think that we only have room for so many passion projects, vanity projects in this business. That's the one I've chosen, along with Dwight Evans and Louis Tiant. I don't have enough room in my schedule to fight the fight for Shoeless Joe.
Yeah, a long time ago.
Yep.
I think there are plenty of other people who will.
And do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, there's like 7 documentaries.
Yeah, and one of them, by the way, was Ted Williams. Ted Williams went to meet with the commissioner. I think it was Bud Selig, like over 25 years ago. He had a meeting with Bud Selig to make the case for Shoeless Joe Jackson. I don't know what the connection was with Ted Williams and Shoeless Joe, because Shoeless Joe's career ended with 1920, which was 19 years. So Ted Williams would have been like 3 or 4 years old. So I don't know what the connection is there.
Well, Steve, your dog is probably going to start.
Your dog's probably dying to go out.
Yeah, he's probably going to start peeing on your floor.
I wish I could roll my eyes and complain, but the fact is I enjoyed the conversation, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Well,
it's
you don't have to answer this now, but I want you to think about this, and maybe you've done it already, but I don't know if you've seen, there's been this trend on TikTok where somebody, and I don't know actually who's behind the camera, but they just go around the crowd at Fenway and say, like, who's your starting nine? And these people just list out every Red Sox player ever could be in the pool, who their starting nine is. If you have the time, you could tell us and end on that note, or you can just tell us later and we can tell our fans.
That's a good one.
Fisk behind the plate, Pedroia at second.
Yes.
I suppose Nomar at short.
Wow.
Boggs at third.
Yeah.
My outfield would be Jim Wright, Ted Williams,
Mm-hmm.
Kyle Yastrzemski.
Yes.
Ellis Burks.
Carlos
Dewey?
Quintana didn't make
I
the
mean,
cut.
he's Dewey, right? You just spoke so highly of Dewey.
Let the man think, boys.
Tris Speaker, but he played a good chunk of his career in Cleveland because he had a much higher batting average. So, I'm probably going to miss somebody, but I suppose I go with Rice, Yastrzemski, and it's not a great defensive outfield, but look at the offense. I left first base. Who would be Jimmy Fox would be the first baseman.
No ball.
Okay.
Right-handed pitcher would be Pedro.
Yes.
Left-handed pitcher would be, I suppose, Mel Parnell, Bruce Hurst.
Bruce Hurst.
Oh, no.
I guess Babe Ruth.
Oh, there you go.
Lefty
Yeah.
pitcher. And my DH would be David Ortiz. My
Yes,
manager
of
would be
course.
Terry Frank. My manager
What did
would
he
have,
do?
if we had the discussion pre-2004, would have been Dick Williams, who I covered for a year. I covered the Salem Mariners here in 1987. He was the manager of the, so I got to know Dick Williams very well. But obviously, you can't give him what Terry Francona did with the 04 and 07
No.
Red Sox. He would be my manager.
Yeah.
I
Did you
see.
say third?
I said Boggs.
Boggs.
How
You
about-
said Boggs. That's right.
How about
Yeah.
worst manager?
Come on.
Well, I mean, it's almost unfair, but Bobby Valentine, but he's a very good manager. But I think his administrative skills had waned by that year. I mean, Butch Hobson, I think, had his struggles, 92, 93, 94.
Yeah,
I mean, you can go way back to the, I don't know who managed the team in 1932 when they lost 120 games or something. I don't know who that was, but I'm sure they had a few scallywags as manager in those days. But in modern history, Jimmy Williams was a very good manager.
Oh, it was.
Kevin Kennedy was no great shakes, but they did win the AL East, so you can't very well blame him.
Grady Little. I haven't heard his name.
Grady Little was a good manager who made a tragic mistake.
Yeah.
And I don't think that.
True that. I don't think he got a fair shake.
He didn't help himself
after
in that recent
No, I
documentary
think he got a
either.
very fair shake. He should have been fired for that. It was that bad.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
But I think he did a good job as manager up until that point. We all knew it was that they talked about it.
Well,
That
in the
Pedro's,
documentary,
Pedro's face. It was
John
just like,
Henry
Pedro
wanted to fire him
Martinez,
during the game.
After 100 pitches, his batting average against
Alone.
went over 300.
Yeah.
From pitches 1 through 100, every batter was Mike Gallego. From pitching 100 beyond, everyone was Ty Cobb. So he
Yeah.
listen, you want to go at your best and your gut and all that, but no, that was that should have been automatic. But and he had a good bullpen. He had Williamson and who else? Timlin out there.
Yeah, Tim was there. Yep.
Was Embry?
That was and Embry. Yeah, that
Embry,
was a. I don't know. That was a boot. That was not a good. But I still. I guess I go with Bob because he that was not a good. He was only there for 1 year. And
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff went wrong. I think he lost the clubhouse early.
Yeah,
And like I said,
I
like
agree with
Bobby.
that. Yeah.
I like Bobby. I mean, I used to work for the Hartford Courant, and he's from Connecticut. And every time we went into Texas, I had to do a Bobby Valentine sidebar. My editor would say, "Go talk to Bobby." And Stanford's Bobby Valentine from Scalzi Park. I wrote that story 20 times. So the same. He was a good manager with the Rangers, and never won anything, but he was a good manager with the Mets. He always had that rep as being a good game manager. And he was fun. He was quotable. He did goofy stuff. He was sort of like a modern day Leo DeRocher, who I'm reading about right now. So, if someone
That's a good
says
take
one
on that.
more question, because
No,
each
we're
of you
done.
have
There's always one more
one last
question.
question. So, however, if one of you guys can contact me tomorrow on the remote possibility, we could slap together
Yeah.
a TV thing. That'd be
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
And I hope you can all make our game on August 20th at 7 o'clock at St.
Yeah, we'll be
Peter's
there.
Field
Yeah.
for the Boston.
We will.
Planning on making it.
Looking forward to
So,
it.
I have just talked for an hour and 33 minutes, and I'm losing my voice. So
Yeah.
Okay, go get some tea, go walk the dog. Steve, thank you so much
Yeah.
for coming on.
Thank
It's
you.
absolutely my pleasure. Take care.
Yeah.
You
Check
too.
out oldtimebaseball.com. And we'll see you. We'll see you there.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, sir. Appreciate you. Awesome. We could talk to him forever.
I could talk to, yeah,
There's so
seriously.
many more questions.
I want more
to ask him.
stories about the jerseys. I really do. Like, that was
Yeah.
just so cool. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I just love baseball.
Yeah. Gib, where are you, by the way?
Yeah, and what the hell happened?
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
And there was
I don't
apparently
really know
light.
where I am.
There was apparently light in that room you were in.
Are you outside?
News to me. I'm outside now. Yeah,
Yeah, you look like you're outside.
it's all right. It's nice out. I got light here.
Did you get kicked out?
Yeah, there was a whole bunch of people coming.
What a cool dude.
Yeah.
Like,
Awesome.
that was so fun. Yeah,
Yeah,
like that was.
yeah.
I just felt like, yeah, I could have talked more, could have talked longer, but I really wanted to get his 9.
Yeah, that was a good question. I didn't.
Have you been? So have you seen it?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Some
I've seen
people,
those.
but have you seen some of the answers that they give?
Yeah,
I'm
it's
like,
terrible.
are you
It's
fucking
terrible.
stupid? Like, are you
It's
even
terrible.
a fan? Like,
I've
what?
watched-
Most of
Who?
them are millennials. They don't.
I
Go, they
know,
only
and
go
they just
back.
don't know anybody.
Yeah, they only go back so far.
Yeah.
Who do you
Yeah.
say for catcher? You say
Fisk.
Pudge? Fisk?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pudge.
Yeah, I mean, he's the best. I mean, Pete Pudge has been my favorite player since, like, I can't even.
Yeah. That was a good.
I have
question.
a Carlson Fisk card in my office in like a sleeve, tacked to the wall. And the kids are like, "Who's that?" I'm like, "Go Wikipedia." My favorite.
Yeah, like we get to umpire Lou Merloni's son. Most of the kids that played against his son had no idea who Lou Merloni is. I'm like, I'm just old. We're old.
We're just old. I know,
Yeah,
we're old. I say
it's
that every
crazy.
time I go to a Dave Matthews concert. I look around and I go, "Wow, there's a lot of old people here," and then somebody
Except they're
says,
all our
"We're
age.
we're old," and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, we are.
Yeah,
It's
that's,
crazy.
That's us.
Yeah,
It's
we
crazy.
are."
Yeah.
Yep.
But
So, Dan, we did a thing.
yeah, we did a thing.
How was it, guys?
It was
Long.
It was a long game.
Why- and why
A very
was it so
long game.
long?
It was long and hot. Well, it was 9 innings, which, we usually do 7. So it was 9.
And there was a band playing in between innings.
And there was a band,
There was really no rush.
Mariachi
Yeah.
band? What kind of band?
like a live band, like a rock band.
Yeah, I think they played songs in the movie. We're talking about the EFIS movie. They're doing a
Yeah.
movie tour. It came out earlier this year, was it?
It came out earlier this year, yep. And so I was going to turn my AC down. And Max and Zach went to go see it in the theater, Somerville Theater, and then they're re-releasing it.
in the theater?
Yeah.
Yeah, tonight it played in Somerville.
Yeah, tonight it was going to be at Somerville again.
And so they played the game that they played in the movie, which was filmed at Soldiers Field in Douglas, Mass, which is right by the Rhode Island Mass border. They replayed the game that they played in the movie, and that's the game Ange and I umpired, and then they played the movie at the field after
At like
the game.
8 o'clock, after the game.
Yeah.
But the game started at like 3, and then I think we were done at like
This picture Angie and I.
6:37. Oh, yeah, there we are.
My mom took on her 25-year-old camera.
I was gonna say that is not.
Yeah.
We got some other really good ones though, but no,
Yeah,
that's
there
it.
are some good
That's
ones.
great.
So-
That we were
which-
like walking
much
off.
better quality. Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys take off after the game?
Yeah. And we were just hot and gross and
Yep.
Yeah. I went to
Yeah.
dinner with the fam, but
I went home.
yeah,
And then
4
was
hours.
Comatose.
4
I
hour
was
game.
comatose.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was so hot and sweaty. And as we were talking about before, I did not get athletic shorts yet, so I was not happy.
Yeah.
Not as swampy as I would have been if I was behind the dish, but I was definitely like sweating and,
Yeah, but there's a lot better pictures. My brother took with his.
But your brother
nice
took
camera.
some great pictures. Brett
Yeah.
took some good ones. Zach took some, put some up. But yeah, there were some good ones.
Yeah, and Brett did an article on it already.
Yep.
Baseball is my life. Should be an article up there that he wrote on it.
bangs those stories out quick, doesn't he?
He sure does. He sure
You know,
does.
you're retired. What else are you gonna do?
But,
Just kidding, Brett. I love you. You work hard.
But I know Angie has some big news that she wants to also talk about in her little segment.
Let me tell you about my best friend.
So I'm gonna do my best to not like tear up while I talk about that, because that is how exciting
Show your
this
emotions.
weekend. I mean, how exciting this weekend actually was for me and for a lot of the women who also umpire, who I'm in Facebook groups with. We could not stop talking and posting and chatting, and there she is, like, fuck yes, Jen. Like, not only did she like bust through the ceiling, but she looked phenomenal doing it. And, you know, a lot of the responses were just terrible. You know, so there were a lot of people just so excited for this. And I mean, all the women umpires I know, even all the umpires I know who I've been talking to, who I've worked with, were sending me messages like, are you so excited? This is awesome. And they have no idea. People have no idea how hard she worked to get where she was. She's been doing this since the 90s. She started with softball and then was like, I love this, right? Just like the three of us. Mm-hmm. And she kept getting better and better and better and moved up and up and up. And she's earned her stripes. And there's been cascades of just negative feedback. I mean, at any post, just go look. And I've spent a lot of my time trying to just hold on to my own excitement and to not respond. But every single person who watches this podcast, at this point, you know me. And now offline, I am like this times 100 and unfiltered as such. Right, guys? Would you agree? Right? I feel that way. Yes. And so my rage has turned into me just actively responding to every single person who has responded to me.
I mean, some of the comments were just absurd.
And I'm going to say this. So because I think that a lot of people don't understand is that there was a comment on Facebook calling for her to be sexually assaulted on the field.
Yeah.
And I screenshotted it. Because I think people don't realize that when women talk about, like, you know, it's really hard for us, or, you know, like, we don't get treated that well. This is what I'm fucking talking about. And excuse my language, but this is what I'm talking about. It's not just that we don't get treated fairly. It's that from the moment that we step on the field, there's just stuff underneath, right? And I am very lucky that I work with a bunch of guys who have not done that to me, that I have, you know, had the pleasure of being respected by a lot of people. You know, there have been some coaches where I can tell they're just like, oh, great, it's a woman, fabulous, is she, you know, whatever. But I let it go because that's my job. And they eventually let it go because that's my job, right? It's to prove to them that I can do this and that they need to let that go. And that's what we also have to do while we're working. I could go on and on. However, I will say that in response to me just saying to people, hey, she earned her stripes, this is an amazing woman, I got asked if I had a dick probably 10 times. Like, not even joking, right? Like, you go in there and you're like, hey, bud, like, you know, she worked for this, like, she earned her stripes, like, whatever. And, like, you just go in there and you say things like that. And they're like, oh, so do you have a penis too? Or, like, I mean, they say it much more, you know, gross than that. But
it's nothing they would ever say in person.
No, it's nothing they would say in person, and it's nothing they would say to me. And that is what drives me absolutely crazy. So anyways, so I don't know, Dan, do you have the montage? Because all of you don't have to do it if you don't have it. And
no,
that's
fine. I thought you had sent me the screenshots of the comments.
I emailed it to you.
Oh,
you wanted the comments? Oh, I have those.
Yeah.
Oh, so then you don't have to show up. But I did screenshot a picture of all of these men who are making all of these horrible comments, and I have to say they came exactly from the people that you would assume they would come from. All of these people telling me, like, I'm a lesbian, I'm a dyke, I've got a dick. Like, these are the comments.
I mean, I can
for
share.
For what? Like, and so I took a screenshot of, like, all of these people.
Let's see what people are saying.
And here's the thing. So her first pitch,
Have a look at
She
her
called
first
it a
pitch called strike.
so
Thank God that
she-
robots
her-
are coming.
So her first pitch, she called it a strike. It was an inside. It was inside.
And
It
she's
was.
probably nervous as hell, right?
But
I
here's the
imagine.
thing, right? Oh my God, you guys know how nervous you are when you move up a game. My first game behind the dish, I was scared to death, right? Like she was nervous, you could tell. Her overall accuracy was done by like scorecards, whatever. It was 91%. 91%.
No,
You know,
you did check it out. Wow, that's
yeah,
pretty,
so
I
it's
mean,
not that's and so if you go look at people, so don't look at Umpire Channel because he does a good job. He does a really good job,
deleting,
like
yeah. What page
going in there.
was it?
But the John Boy one, so it was John Boy, MLB, Fox, obviously Fox News, but like any news like organization that was like talking about it, they. So, I mean, it wasn't.
There's all your comments.
because I felt like I had to go in there and stop this shit from all of these men. And here's the sick thing, guys: they all have pictures of their daughters in their profile
that's
pictures.
Messed up.
And I said to one dude, I was like, you know what I want you, because you know they all make jokes like, is she making sandwiches? She's gonna call a strike from 3 innings ago because she remembers about it, like all of this nonsense. So I said to some guy, I want you to go and explain that joke to your daughter now. Please go explain that joke to your daughter and how funny that is. That this woman who has broken ground, you're on this page shitting on her. You know, and they're like, oh, it was a joke, calm down. Someone's on their period. No, I'm not. And if I was, I'd find you. Like, stop it. You know, it's...
Yeah, I can't find the post, but it was...
I mean, if you go on my page, well, don't go on my page live because I say some shit. But yeah, I mean, but they're bad. They're bad, and you know, so some guy was like, oh, I wouldn't touch your dick with a 10-foot pole or something, and because he kept asking me like if I had a dick. I'm not kidding, and so I wouldn't respond. And I was just like, dude, my body's like, so he went to like 100, right? So I'm like, my body is none of your business, and it's really unfortunate that that's where you're going. And he's like, well, thank God that's my problem. And I said, baby, you don't need to thank God. You need to thank your genes. And I took a screenshot of him, and I was like, this you? Some nasty ass dude. Like, please, like, you'd have a shot with me. Fuck. Anyways.
It's crazy. I mean, people behind a computer screen just think they can just say anything.
They think
and
that
they would
they
never
can say
that
anything.
Yeah.
They would never. And they say such horrible... I mean, this one dude who, I mean, he used the R word and was like, she should be sexually assaulted on the field.
Yeah.
Seriously?
Those people.
But this is the shit that we face in the world. Not just for she wants to umpire. Are you kidding? Anyways.
And 91% was probably better than any of Angel Hernandez's games.
So I will say this. I did my homework. I went back and I looked at a lot of the stats for first-time umps behind the dish, right? And the average was like 90. There were guys who had 88%. There were guys who had like 87%. There was one dude who had 96 was the highest that I found of a starting ump. Granted, I was rage searching because I was just so infuriated. But it doesn't matter what information you put in front of these people. They just don't think women are deserving or equal or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, and then some guy was like, my wife couldn't do that. Like, that's not a job my wife could do. So then I posted a picture of me and I said, well, my husband's wife can. Sorry about your life. I was starting to get snarky.
And these dudes are married. Like, do their wives?
And they have daughters.
And daughters.
But dude, look at the world. I mean, like, I don't want to. We don't need to go
John
there.
Boy should call out these people.
That's what I'm saying. How can you? I mean, you remember on the? I'm sorry, I give ice to you, but like there was that guy who, when I first started umping, and I just made a comment on a what's the call, and then he DM'd me.
Yeah.
Some really vile stuff, like very sexual stuff. What, guys? Make it safer for women in this world, man. Because you know what? Like, it's not.
And so that's a good point. One, I don't blame you for being upset. You know, you got every right to be upset. But I'm not okay? What I'd like to say...
I'm fired up, Gib.
I know.
Careful.
You got it right. All I'm saying is, like, our job, too, as umpires, is to kind of not hear the noise, right? And you're in a tough position. I don't blame you. You know, you're in You're trying to climb up in a man's world, much like politics, much like the rest of this world, right? You're trying to fight for position, and that you have every right and every opportunity to take advantage of. I don't, you know this, I have a daughter. I want her to be able to excel to the highest possible power and do whatever she wants, regardless of whoever's in charge, right? That's what I got to teach her, how to empower her, how she can empower herself and essentially do what she wants, right? And that's tough when you're climbing in a predominantly male dominated field, right? But all I would say is that I did see a lot of good comments too, from a lot of males too. There were especially from her colleagues. Like
but her colleagues, people who knew her,
that have worked with her, people that have had the pleasure of working in umpiring in the minors, congratulating her. And I saw her press conference afterwards.
Oh my God, wasn't that so sweet?
Was beaming. I mean,
and the guy who was with her was just like, it was awesome. It was awesome. No, and that's what I'm saying, Gib, is that...
And the only thing I'll say, really, Ange, is that what was clear with her was that she's learned how to tune out a lot of that noise.
She's had to.
For better or worse.
But this is the thing, we have to. We all have to. And I do on the field, right? I get it. I have, and we've talked about this before, not necessarily on this podcast, but we have, is that I've gotten flack on the field, and it's been very clearly because I'm a female. And I do tune that out on the field. I think not on the field.
And I commend you. And I commend you for sticking up for this poor girl. The only thing I'd say, really honestly, is I agree we should call out the bad policies, call out the bad practice, call out the BS. Let's just not call out the individuals who are doing it, all right? Let's call it out. We'll call it for what it is, but I don't think...
Are you by a waterfall, by the way?
Just stoop to that level. That's all, you know?
I hear that, but here's the thing, Gibby, and you know, you and I know, and I respect it as a father. I respect it because I know what you're saying.
Because I don't want my baby girl to then go after them for whoever they are. Because I already know they're scum, right? And I'm not trying to raise scum, right? Not that I'm not calling, I'm not calling you.
But here's what I'm saying is that
offending someone.
Jen isn't gonna. I mean, I'm sure Jen knows the comments are happening, and I'm hopefully for her mental health, she's not looking. I hope she isn't. But you know who's going to see those comments? All the little girls who are playing baseball, all the 14, 15-year-old, 16-year-old girls who are playing softball, all the girls who are trying to come up in this, all the girls who are like, oh my God, this is the world that I'm surrounded in. So you know what? If they can see me making my comments in between and telling these guys where to go, I'm going to call it out. And I think that silence, and this is the last thing I'll say about this because I do want to talk more about her game, silence and not standing up for ourselves has gotten us to where we are today. And women no longer have the privilege of letting it go and turning the other cheek. Because I'm not turning shit. I am 44 years old next month. I ain't turning shit. Like, you know what I mean? And it's been 44 years of being told when I was 10 years old that I couldn't shovel driveways with the boys. When I was 11 years old, I couldn't play baseball because I wasn't a girl, because I wasn't a boy. I had to go play softball now, right? When I was in high school, nope, you can't play baseball. You have softball.
You didn't have
when
to
I was
shovel? That's awesome.
No, I had to wash dishes. I had to mop. I had to clean. No, and the boys could go shovel driveways and make money.
I see.
Take out the trash.
Right? Yeah. But no, like they would go in the neighborhood. So it would snow. They'd grab their shovels and we would fight because, again, I grew up in foster care, right? No money. There's like 2 shovels and the boys are like, we're grabbing the shovels and we're going. There was no shovel for me. And they would go make money in the neighborhood shoveling. And even if I got to the shovel first, I would set my alarm for 7 a.m. if I knew it was going to snow, and I would run out and I would grab a shovel, and I was told,
good for you.
Give it to one of the boys.
Wow.
You're not going to go shovel. But this is the stuff. But this is, and then I'm a crazy female who couldn't hold in her emotions.
Right.
But I digress. Be better men. That's it. Yeah. That's it. Just be better men. Oh, Chris Curry. I was replying to Curry. But just be better. And if you have daughters, be the daughters you want. Be the men that you want in their lives. Because I will tell you this. Your daughters are going to date the men that mimic you.
Absolutely.
And it's not a gross sexual thing. It's that's how they learn to be respected. They learn what love is from their parents. And so that's what they do. So if your father believes in you and believes that like you can do whatever you want to do, you're going to go. Your father's making sexist comments about getting in the kitchen. Guess what kind of dude you're going to marry? So like be better men for your girls because they deserve to grow up strong. Anyways, back to Jen.
Arms of the
But this is, I mean, everybody who knows me knows I'm a fired up human anyways, but this really just kind of got me going because it's been a very hard thing for me these past couple of years, really coming to terms with the fact that I've carved out a niche in my life where, you know, I'm very well respected in my field. I'm very well respected among people. And when I came to umpiring, I was not very well respected. And it was a very like harsh slap in the face of reality.
And she
of like,
probably had
oh,
to
wait,
go through the same thing. And
you know she did. You know she did. I mean, and she came up in the 90s. Guys, like the 90s.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
That was bad.
she's
That was a
hard
bad
sometimes.
time for women. So anyways, she called her game. She had some pitches or some calls where I was on the edge of my seat when she would call it a strike and it was right on the line and I was like, oh yes, like she made some but she just made some phenomenal calls. It made me so excited to see her back there. You can't deny that she's meant to be there. Like you can't. It was, you know, that first pitch was really unfortunate, but like
I didn't even
we've all
see
missed
the
call.
first pitch.
It was her first, yeah, and so of course,
Ball cut in.
Of course it's
You
the
don't know
first
how
pitch.
everybody jumped, and you know, it's actually, and not to make excuses because it was a ball inside, and if it was any other umpire, I would say, oh, you missed that call, blue leg. But we all know how hard that is if it breaks over the plate and goes like it is coming right at you, and nerves and all that stuff. But I actually saw an interesting article the other day about how, you know, the box we're seeing a 3-dimensional figure, whereas it's 4 dimensions. And really sometimes, even though the box is there, the ball breaks over the plate. And sure, maybe it looks like it goes outside, but it crossed over the plate. And was it a strike? Yeah, but the box isn't going to show you that.
Where did
So,
you get her scorecard, by the way?
it was actually attached to a Reddit post, and let me find it. Hold on one second.
Oh.
And it had the whole spray chart and everything. I can send it to you. We don't have to do it, but hold on one second.
And they don't do any kind of scoring for base, like calls on the base, right?
So I'm going to hold up my computer, so I don't know. But like, so. Wait a minute.
Hold on, I can blow you up. Hold on.
So this was this was the chart. And so it's, you know, I mean, like, look at the ones that she missed.
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding? They're right there.
And that's like
So,
inches, you know. It looks like, yeah.
It's inches.
Yeah.
And so, you know, she did great. She'll get better. So her accuracy was 91.4. And called strikes, it was a 94. So, like, you
That's
know,
pretty good.
I think that, right, that's not pretty good. That's fucking awesome.
No, that's, yeah.
Those pitches are 9,500 miles an hour coming straight at you, you know. And obviously, just like we talk about all the time, the more tools you put in your toolbox, the more you get, you know, the more time you get on the field. But could you guys imagine stepping behind the plate as the first of your kind? And there were little girls in the stands holding signs that were like, "I'm here for Jen." And you know, she did an interview where she said, you know, if I could just be out there and one little girl says, "Hey, I want to umpire."
Then, yeah,
And
exactly.
I did a game in South Boston a couple weeks ago, maybe about a month ago now, and some little girl was just being cute, and she was like, "Mom, I want to be an umpire," and I was like, "Girl, you go, girl." But and that feeling for me, I mean, I'm just umping a little league game in South Boston was awesome to be the person, but the it's 2025, dudes. It's
By the way, did you see the
2025.
little boy getting autographs from all the people? Did you
So-
sign his ball for him?
He didn't ask me. He walked right by me.
Wow.
And then I kind of like walked near him because I could see that he was asking other people, and he didn't ask me. So
Wow.
it's okay.
Wow.
Well, and it's also because speaking of, and I'm not going to belabor this because I'm too happy about Jen to do this, but did anybody ask you if you actually umpire? Because I got asked 4 times if I actually umpired.
Like
Or if you were just a hired person to put on an umpire uniform.
No,
Oh,
I didn't get that.
yeah.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
I didn't think so. Yeah.
Wow.
So this is the shit, right?
I
Like,
hear
and
ya.
and listen,
I
I had some good calls out there. I had some good calls
believe
out
it.
there. But yeah, 4 times.
That sucks.
Wow.
And I think that, right, like, that's the little microaggressions that for you guys, right? It wouldn't be
No.
that big of a deal because
No.
whatever, like
Did they finish that
but-
sentence with, because you're wearing a thong, so I wasn't sure if you
I only showed my thong to Chris Curry. So.
That's why he's so happy.
I was telling him about the show, and then I said,
Yeah.
but I still haven't gone to buy any underwear. So he's the only one who knew, I should say.
Yeah. That's why he's saying hi.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. But there were a ton of signs out. But so she did the bases yesterday, and she was awesome on the bases. There were no issues, and then, but of course, behind the dish, she's going to get way more criticism and critique because there's a box there that everybody thinks that they know about, and everybody thinks that they're an umpire once they put that little box there. But I think it's, as a woman, as an umpire, I had goosebumps. And I mean, when can I say that about something else? Honestly, it was like Christmas. It was like Christmas, knowing that it was coming up. It was so effing cool. And so, of course, everybody's going crazy. Yeah, I mean, and then, so, guys, I have a big announcement to make. I am going to adopt Jen Powell's strikeout, her strike 3.
Oh yeah.
I was practicing it.
I
It's mine
suggested
now.
that, but apparently you were
You did.
talking to Zach about it.
We literally were when you had texted me that, we were literally talking about that, and I said, "Yep, I'm taking it." She does this like hop back thing. I love it. I'm doing it.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
intense.
She like puts her weight back. Yep. Like, yeah. But I was watching her too, and this, and maybe it's just because I was so zoned in on her, guys. Like I was the happiest I've been in a long time. But she had this like pacing. So in between her calls, she would stand up.
She squeezed the
And then she would call it. Yeah. She talked to Joey Cash before the game. She got some help. But she was definitely pacing herself, and she got into this rhythm, and it really was, she's got something down that she's doing, and I liked it. And she just looked solid out there. And it was funny, Zach made the comment that, like, I bet they've all been talked to, right? Like, not to yell at her, like, they've all been talked to. And at first I wanted to fight against
it's gonna happen.
right?
Eventually.
And innately I wanted to be like fuck you, like she can take it, like blah blah blah. And then I thought, no, I bet you're right. I bet that there was some sort of like understanding.
Maybe
so
in her first
I can't
game,
wait.
but-
So I can't wait for the first time somebody goes in on her, and the way that she responds is going to be everything.
Everything.
Well, she can have
Absolutely everything. Yeah.
ejection counter. We can add hers to our little counter.
I don't think she's going to reject anybody, because I think, honestly,
Yeah, I think
we talked about this before.
Right?
Yes, we talked about this before.
Yep.
Maybe at
For a
first.
while.
but-
Yeah.
I think for
Yeah.
a little, I bet for a long while, Dee.
Well, yeah, knowing that
won't-
they get
she
in trouble
won't-
if they have like ejections that are unwarranted.
I mean, they do that, but I think, too, even if it is warranted, I think she's going to put up with more, because the look of... I mean, because there was already, right, all these comments. Well, wait till she fights with them, and she's going to just eject everybody. And, like, oh, I bet she'll eject them because she thought about them in a dream. Or like, they cheated on her in a dream. Oh,
Said,
that makes me want to, like, punch through walls. I mean, I could go into the history of everything, but you know what? Like, no woman has ever started a war. And maybe Cleopatra or whomever, but you know what? Modern history, nobody, not one woman on her period was like, I'm going to nuke Japan. That didn't happen. So y'all need to stop with that. And if you really go talk to your moms. Go talk to your moms, go talk to your daughters, and stop blaming it on our period, and stop realizing y'all do fucked up shit. Wash your own goddamn dishes.
I'm not talking to my mom about
Sorry.
PMS. Sorry.
And I know who I'm not talking to it about.
Because it is used as a bullshit excuse for us calling men out. That has just been the trope. But you know what? This isn't a podcast about that. This is a podcast about umpiring. Jen,
Next episode,
hope-
however.
yeah, we could talk more about thongs in my period. No, but the signs and the stands, the women who were there, there were people who had like flown in, who had signs about how they'd like flown in to see her. And Maybelle, so I'm friends with Maybelle Blair on Facebook, which like crazy long story behind that. But Maybelle Blair has been posting all about her, all of the women in blue pages. It's just a really big deal, and I'm really, really, really excited about it. I can't help it.
Push the positivity. There's
Yeah,
plenty
and
of
that's,
it.
you know what,
There's
and you're
plenty of
right.
it.
And Gibby, you are 1,000% right.
I'm part of it too, Ange. I love women. I love my little girl. Come on.
Yeah.
We're gonna push it. That's all.
Yeah.
We can call.
We'll
call out the BS. I'm not. You know me, and you know I'm not saying you shouldn't. All right. That's
No,
all.
I know.
I just don't like
know.
stooping down to that level, right?
I yes, but again, we've
hear you.
ignored it
Someone's gotta
for
do it.
so long,
hear you.
right? And
I
so
don't
let it be a
blame you.
44-year-old white woman during
ahead.
menopause, because right, you know what? Menopause will fuck you up. Let it be me. Let it be me, because I don't mind going back to prison.
We got your back.
I'm kidding. That was a Jeff Foxworthy joke from the
Yeah.
white collar, the blue collar comedy tour. I don't mind going back to prison. But what a day! What a
day.
weekend!
What a week.
What a weekend! What a day! What a weekend!
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Hopefully
On
she
that
gets
note.
more opportunities, right?
Yeah. You
Yeah,
gotta
so
see when
she's
she's
gonna
coming
be,
to Fenway.
Well, she's not.
Oh, that'd
So
be
she's
cool.
not in the regular rotation of umps right now. So she's just waiting. Like I forget what do they call them? There's a name for them. A pivot.
Lori
right.
Whedon meet Angie Nick.
I think it's called a pivot is what they call her. So like so her next assignment could be anything. Could be a minor league or it could be an MLB game. But she's not like in the MLB rotation quite yet. But
Okay.
with a 91% accuracy, guys,
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I think she's coming back.
She'll be back.
I mean, and the way the announcers were talking about her, the way the coaches were talking about her, the way everybody was like, you know what, fuck those guys, because the way that everybody else in this, like, who matters, were talking about her, it was phenomenal.
Yeah, there was a really nice post that you had commented on about the history of baseball and
Yes.
this being a monument. That was
Wasn't
written
that
very
awesome?
well. Yeah, that was written
So
very well.
well written. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
why I shared that. And it was long, but I hope some people took the time. Obviously, you saw it. It was just so well written and so poignant. And because as we know, women have been a part of baseball since before, you know, a league of their own, since before World War II, we were playing, but not out loud, right?
Yep.
And then we got, the kind of the All-American Girls Baseball League, which obviously has been just kind of everywhere. And we've seen it in stone, and, you know, women were playing in skirts and dresses. But, you know, what happened when those leagues folded? Those ladies all went back and kept playing. You know, they really did. And the stories that they've told. And so women have always played ball. We just haven't always been recognized as ballers. And I think that Jen did something today. And I think she did something beyond her job. I think she did something. So ladies, get on your sneakers because there's glass on the floor.
Boom. Yeah, I like it. Sorry, I just need to wake myself up.
Yeah, I know. It's been a long day. And you
Yes,
have, are you at 3 games today, buddy?
Don't
I
fight the
don't
hand
even
that
know how many.
feeds.
You're right.
No, but that's a lot of baseball. I don't have,
A long
well, we
game.
have a game on, what do we have a game coming up, right, Dan, me and you? And then
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
that's all I have on my
Doing
list so
the,
far. Yeah.
Good
What are you guys
stuff.
doing?
We're
The
doing the
firefighters
firefighters.
game.
Oh yeah.
I told Zach he
Enjoy.
wasn't allowed to come. I will enjoy. Thank you.
They're good guys. They're good guys.
Yeah. Nice. Well, fun.
Good times. All right,
Yeah.
guys. Well,
All right, guys. Dan, I'm keeping your stepmom in my heart.
Thank
so
you.
may her
Thank
memory
you.
be a blessing, bud.
thank you.
Absolutely. Big hugs.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
to your entire fam. You're in my
Yeah.
thoughts.
And
Love
happy
you
birthday
guys.
to my moms.
I love you guys. Thank you for letting me go on my tirade, and I promise I won't be that aggressive and unless another female umpire gets put in. People do this again. But there's no one else, right? But there's nobody else. And actually, sorry, one more thing, guys. There were a couple of umpires who clearly have been around for a very long time, and they were talking about this woman named Pam Papatsima. I think that was her name. I could be saying her last name wrong. But so Pam Patsima was an umpire in the 80s in the minor leagues and tried to
Really?
get a game and never got a game. So there were actually a couple comments and a couple guys in the comment section saying like it should have been Pam. It should have been Pam. And I had never heard of Pam. So I Googled her, and yes, so she was a minor league umpire in the 80s, and there was another woman too, and I'm blanking on her name. I'll find it for the next podcast because she should be recognized. And they were the first two in kind of like the MLB system, but they never moved beyond minor leagues. And so this guy was kind of saying like, Pam was amazing. Like Pam deserved that. And then, and right, but like, how fucked up is that, dude? Like, but anyways, but so then he was saying how basically like, right, she was amazing. It wasn't the right time, but that she had cracked, and he wrote it and he said it in such a great way. And I can't remember, but basically it was like, you know, Pam cracked the ceiling and Jen got to bust through it. And I'm like, yeah. And now it's through, right? And now just let the women who want to go. And not every woman wants to be an umpire, right? Not every woman wants to do that. But for the women that do, like,
there's the path for
go. It's open, right? Like Jen did it.
Yeah.
And there are a ton of women in the like camps and stuff. Sorry, Dan, you're exhausted. But I've seen like in the like up and coming umpires, there's like a bunch of women who are.
By the way,
there.
my mom was like, Angie was so quiet. She's so talkative on the podcast. She was so quiet. She was so quiet when I met her. I was like, yeah, we just did a 4-hour game. That's probably why.
Yeah. Oh, I was. Yeah. And you guys, when I'm tired, I'm grumpy as fuck. You guys have seen me at 1 a.m. at the 100 inning game.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was like, just get me in my car. Yeah.
Kind of how I feel right now.
All right.
2 a.m.
All right,
Netherlands
Frankie,
time.
go get a nap. Yeah,
All right,
right.
guys.
I was up at 4 a.m. for you babies.
Yeah, you were.
All right, guys.
Thanks, Gib.
I'd do
Enjoy
it
the rest of
again.
your vacation.
All right, sounds good. See you guys when I come back.
Yes.
Yeah, can't wait.
All right, guys. Same time,
Bye.
same place next week. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you like and subscribe. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify. Good night, guys. See you next week. Adios.